Hey guys, it's LSupersonic here with another video. So, it wasn't really my intention for the end of summer to kind of fall apart in terms of videos, because I was planning on posting just as many, if not more, videos like I did toward the beginning of summer. But things just kind of fell apart. I kind of get pretty depressed toward the end of summer, honestly, because, school starts back up and, summer and kind of the days of doing nothing are over. So, there's that, and I'm just scrambling to get a bunch of other things done. So videos aren't exactly my highest priority as much as I'd like them to be, but even so, I don't really have a whole lot of material left for summer. So that's why I'm kind of opting for an in-depth series episode now, which I guess it's okay because it was one I wanted to film, and I was gonna say because of kind of the hype of Smash 4, I guess it would kind of be worth it, but that's not really saying much because I wanted to do one because Pikmin 3 came out, so I wanted to do a Pikmin in depth, but I couldn't get to my Pikmin box because it's behind my GameCube and a bunch of other stuff that I kind of have set up and can't really get to, and I wouldn't really know how to do it because it's a big box of all little Pikmin figures and stuff. So that'd be kind of hard to show. But anyway, yeah. So I did end up recording this one a long time ago. I think it was going to be my 2012 closing video for the year, but I was having upload trouble and the video was 20 minutes in itself, which isn't to say that this is going to be 20 minutes, but I don't know. I feel like it was one of those, like last minute, nighttime, really kind of rambly videos, so hopefully this one will be a little bit better. Thank goodness for elastic bands. I have my camera being held up by elastic bands now, a lot better than tape or anything else, so I think for the time being that problem is fixed. Anyway, let's start this video, which I've rambled on for about a minute 45 by now. Alright, so the Brawl set, this in-depth series episode, I don't even know what episode it is the canceled Brawl set, which at this point I'm pretty much gonna say, I'm not even gonna say it's canceled, but not really, you guys. I'm pretty much gonna say it's canceled. So before I get into the figures of the set, I'm actually going to explain why this was canceled and kind of my anticipation when I was kind of building up the set. So I remember back when Brawl, and I think just like most people, I specifically wanted a let me try that again. I specifically wanted a Wii to get Brawl, because I played Melee. I at that point I probably had all the trophies and stuff, which I've 100% Melee. Props to myself for that. I just had to throw that out there. Diskin was so hard to get, but I 100% of Melee, and the next installment of the Smash Bros. Series would come out. I never actually played the one on the Nintendo 64. I bought it on the Virtual Console a few years after I got my Wii. So, but that aside, Melee was a great game. I really liked it. And then Brawl, all the hype, the final smashes, all my friends were talking about it. It was just the biggest thing. Online was blowing up with it. I was watching videos of final smashes and the E3 trailers and stuff. It was just really cool and stuff. Um, so of course, being a sculptor and doing stuff with clay, I really wanted to kind of get into this set. However, of course, this is partially from recollection because this set is so darn old. But from what I remember, I didn't actually start working on the set until I want to say at least a couple years after I actually had the game, because aside from the fact that I probably just didn't get around to it, in terms of nowadays standards, I typically would like to play a game or invest myself in the artwork or kind of get to know kind of the notion of the game before I start to sculpt characters from it, just to kind of get a better feel for the sculpt and how a character should look rather than just looking at the box art or whatever. So that aside, I didn't actually get into this set until at least a couple years later, and at that point, I was I kind of wanted to really invest myself in the set, and of the models I made, I didn't really go in any particular order, kind of just made the ones I wanted to make, and I think to a degree that's kind of what brought the downfall of the set. So continuing on, yeah, I kept making the models, and then I think there was some point where Brawl was just kind of unfavorable to me. The kind of hype had worn off, and I don't know if I already mentioned this, but I didn't end up getting Brawl until a few years after the Wii came out because I didn't get my Wii until a couple years after the Wii came out initially. So at that point, the initial hype had kind of died down. I think I was kind of like, all right, Brawl's a good game, but I was kind of wavering between Brawl and I'm sure Melee because to this day I still like Melee more than I do Brawl. Just in the overall game itself. Um, so there was that. I think at this point I was kind of getting into some other type of clay set and investing myself in other games that I was going back and trying to play through or 100%. And again, because I wasn't going in any specific order of characters or anything, I was just kind of sculpting whoever I felt like. And after I had sculpted the ones I really wanted to, like Link and Fox and those type of characters, I really didn't want to do like Snake and Ice Climbers and characters I really didn't like from the set, so I kind of lost motivation there. Not to mention, some of them I was kind of failing at. Like we'll take a look at the Falco, and the Falco one just really kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look that good. I had the Ganondorf I did the head for, but it doesn't really, fit very well, or it didn't fit very well on the body, so I just made it its own model. So all those kind of factors combined, and just the fact that again all those pretty much together influenced this set, thus being cancelled, and I only have a handful of characters that I actually made from the game. With that almost 6-minute intro out of the way, hope you guys kind of like my ramble there. We're actually going to start to look at the models right now. So, going in no particular order, as I said, I'm going to start with... I'll start with Meta Knight, because for some reason I feel like Meta Knight may have been the first one I sculpted. So, I should make a note of kind of the characters in themselves. So, this is the... Well, it's Meta Knight, but again, what I've been meaning to say is, the characters themselves, you can't really tell with Meta Knight, so maybe that was a bad one to go with at first. But I purposely made them chibi, or like smaller than normal size. I did this for 2 reasons. One, because I knew that I kind of had these thoughts that this set may have not been finished, once I started it. And at that point, I didn't know that it wasn't going to get finished, so I wanted to finish it. And I thought by reducing the size of the character models, it would allow me to, sculpt more frequently, and it wouldn't take up as much clay. That was the second reason, is that I wouldn't have to spend as much clay on the characters, thus making them easier to sculpt and, getting the set done. But of course that didn't happen. So I'll talk briefly about, well, not briefly, but I'll in-depth series these models. So Meta Knight, I'm pretty sure this is the only Meta Knight I've ever made, in, just for the record, just like most of these in-depth series episodes now, these, like I said already, were made years ago, so I'm sure, well, I know I can make a much better model of all these characters, but, I mean, for the time, and even maybe, I don't know, I feel like even the years ago I made this, could have been a little better. Like I said, it's the only Meta Knight I made. The sword is kind of a little too outward for me. The spikes aren't as kind of joined together as I would have liked. The face is kind of smudgy. It's not really sharp looking. I do like the fold in the cape, though, if you can kind of see right there. There's like that kind of like texture fold, which it looks pretty like authentic. But the M on his little shoulder piece kind of smudged, and I think it could have made this back a little bit kind of bigger. And, I guess it's okay, but I guess at the time, I was kind of going for that. Well, it doesn't have to be perfect detail, type of model, and it was Meta Knight anyway, so I figure, you don't need a whole lot of, I guess, time into Meta Knight, as as we'll see from some of these other models, I clearly put more time into some than others. So I'll kind of keep with the sets. I guess I'll just pull one and then keep showing the same characters from the set. So next is Kirby, which I sculpted a lot of Kirbys way back when, and I really don't sculpt a whole lot of Kirbys now because I'm not a big fan of Kirby, but that's not to say I wouldn't like to, make a really nice one. Because back then, and I don't think I've made a Kirby since probably this one, which was again back in like, 2010 or so, maybe 2009. This Kirby, I just could never really get Kirby right. He has kind of big feet, which is it just looks a little bit weird for my liking, and I could never get the eyes right. The pink of his kind of skin color, and then the pink of his cheeks and feet, I think it just doesn't really look that good because there's such a difference in, the tone. This is really kind of dull, and then these are really bright, so you don't really notice his eyes or his mouth, his mouth is kind of off-center anyway. But I guess it's okay. It's a Kirby. I kind of sculpted all these Kirbys the same back then. If you guys watch some of my other in-depth series episodes on, my vintage video game models and stuff, I show some of the Kirbys off, and, they pretty much look identical to this. But he's in pretty good scale with Meta Knight, so that's a plus there. Next, I'm going to move into Star Fox. I actually showed these, I showed this Fox off in my Star Fox in-depth episode, but I did say that I really liked it, and I still do really like it. That's what I meant to say. Kind of just because, again, with the chibi look, he's not as tall and stuff, but I feel like to a degree there's a bit of kind of rushing because just, again, kind of in my personal analysis, I can tell that, his little neckerchief thing. It's looking kind of smudged, probably because I put it on there straight off and then tried to do the vest kind of afterward, and obviously was kind of pushing down on it to wrap it all the way to wrap the vest all the way around, and it's smudged. And I can tell that he was probably standing kind of a little bit taller at some point, and I kind of just pushed him down because he kind of shows wrinkling in the pants and shoes, which I don't really think I meant to do. But I mean, that aside, I just kind of like it, not so much because it's necessarily on model, but because I get what I was doing. It's, again, kind of that chibi, not a whole lot of detail, and I think it's just a general pretty good looking Fox model. The blaster and the way he's holding it, I think I may have mentioned this before. It just kind of looks really natural, which is a happy accident because I kind of just, put the clay on the blaster and hope for the best. But again, not too bad. It's not bad. I like this one, regardless about what anybody else really thinks. But I think this is a pretty good Fox. So, and I do want to make note of this kind of shiny gray. I like that on the back. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but just kind of the shine of the dark orange or brown of his fur, and then the gray, and then they kind of got in some of the red a little bit, and the green. The colors are really coordinated with this model, so I like that. But now, see, this is kind of where I don't know if you could say it really gets off scale. I wouldn't say these models are necessarily not in scale because Kirby and Meta Knight are kind of smaller anyway, so Fox being, not as small as Kirby and Meta Knight in general, he deserves to get a little bit taller sculpt. However, this Falco definitely was way off scale, and I actually don't think I showed him off in my Star Fox in Depth episode because I really didn't want to. No offense, Falco, but I really didn't like this Falco when I sculpted it. I was using artwork, I believe, which was really ironic because I would have thought I could have got it a little bit better, but I guess not. Partly, I think, just because of the head alone. I can kind of get a general sense of how to sculpt something just by looking at it. But I guess back then I didn't really have that so well, so I kind of made like a metal Sonic-shaped head with the kind of like the 3 spikes in the back, and it kind of curves over really sharp, rather than that bump in his head and then bringing the feathers kind of upward. So the head alone was really weird, and in comparison to Fox, it turned out way too big to begin with. I mean, look at that. It's way too big. So because I made a really big head, for some reason I was trying to balance the head out with the body, and I'd made the body just about the same size as the head. At this point, I kind of lost sight, which I believe Falco was the very last model to these 10 or so that I ended up making. And at this point, I kind of lost sight of the set because it had probably been so long since I had sculpted one to the set, which I believe it was. And rather than making him kind of like chibi with like a big head but smaller body, that's kind of all in proportion like I did with Fox, I kind of made him with like a big small head and a big small body. Like, I made it the same size, but I just kind of scaled the model down entirely rather than, like kind of like what I did Fox with, like I said, the big head but smaller body, so it didn't work out proportion wise, and as a result I think it just kind of was really weird. Not to mention, again, with the whole detail thing, I just really didn't spend time on the detail, and I think partly that was due to the fact that I just completely messed up the scale, so I didn't want to really scrap it because you guys know I really don't like doing that. So back then I really didn't want to do that either. So, I just finished him, but I really didn't try. And his tail, I didn't actually make him with only one little feather of his tail, but he had like a whole, like 4 or 5 or 6, but they all broke off. So that's Falco right there. Next, we'll move into Metroid. So here's Samus, which, again, like the Fox, or I should say this is Samus Varia suit, and like the Fox, I think this is probably one of my favorite models to the set. And once again, well, this one I believe was kind of made in the kind of, I guess, the beginning to middle, I would probably say, of the set. But I still feel like even at this point, I wasn't completely understanding where I wanted to go with this set, and I really think that's one of the other reasons why I ended up not finishing it, is just because I didn't know where I wanted to go. We'll take Fox to compare again. So, well, first I'll talk about Samus. So, this Samus is overall, kind of really small and stuff, with minimal detail because that's what I wanted. Just holding her blaster kind of really cool, really chibi stylized because, again, it just, I mean, look at it. It's it's really chibi just by looking at it. You can tell it's, that type of thing. But then we compared to Fox and stuff, and Fox kind of has the big head and small body, as I've said before. But Samus kind of has a small head and a body fitting to that kind of, size of the head. Not to mention she's really small kind of overall with minimal detail. I said that I tried to put detail on Fox, to make it look like Fox, but I remember when I made the Samus, I didn't even really try to put detail on because I wanted it to look kind of like chibi like this. So it's really weird to see, a lack of detail on Samus like this, and then I, try to put detail on Fox. So again, just with the confusing nature of this set probably led to its demise. But aside, I do like the Samus for what it is. I just think it's kind of a nice little model. Definitely, again, kind of different than anything to the set or anything I've really made. Just kind of in its stylization, because again, no detail. So that's kind of nice there. But again, she's kind of in scale to the Kirby, but not to the Fox. So maybe I could kind of, rather than pinning it on Samus, pin it on Fox and say, well, I was kind of going with this kind of, the entire character being small first, because like I said, I made these guys before I made the Fox. I'm going to probably say. And then the Fox, I did the bigger body or the bigger head, and then the smaller body on the head, but still making it kind of large, So, I don't know, just a confusing nature of this set. And then to go along with the Varia Suit Samus, which is why I had to correct myself, is Zero Suit Samus, which I don't actually think came out too bad, honestly. Of some of the other kind of facial expressions and stuff that some of these characters have, I don't think she's actually too bad. I remember I tried to get the face as good as I can, but I kind of knew myself back then and knew I wasn't going to be able to get it right. So, I guess to a degree, I tried but didn't try. And she's kind of holding her gun in a weird spot. It's just like, kind of like two hands on the gun, like, I don't know, it's a little weird. And she's actually kind of chubby now that I look at it. And I think that's because I tried to do that mixing of the dark blue and the light blue, and I just didn't do it right. And again, the confused nature of the set, because her legs are really, short and stumpy, and but her head's small, and the overall figure is small, because I try to keep it in scale with the Varia suit. The Varia suit's more bulky, but then compare her to Fox yet again, and Fox is like, so much bigger. So I really don't know what's up with that, but I guess for Zero Suit Samus, and for the only Samus Unmasked clay figure I've ever made and probably ever will make, I guess it's looking okay. Especially kind of with the rest of the set that, like I've said before multiple times, is kind of all in different directions anyway. Next we'll move into Zelda, and when I say Zelda I mean Link. So I showed these two guys off in my Zelda Obscurity video. I believe I did. I think I did. I've probably shown off most of these models in one form or another in an in-depth series episode if they went to a specific video where I talked about all of one character, all of one series. Because like the Kirby, I didn't do like a Kirby in-depth or whatever. But like I said, the Star Fox one, the Metroid one I did, and now the Zelda ones, which is just Link. So as I've said before, I like this Link a lot. I think there's something about it that I did right. And again, this is kind of the weird nature of it, is because I made his head small and I made his body kind of big. If you can tell, he's kind of like buffing his chest out a little bit. I mean, it kind of looks like that. So proportion-wise, it doesn't make sense to what I was, where I went with the set. But for some reason, I really like how that looks. Kind of just, he looks really heroic. With his shield, kind of curved in a pretty good proportion with his sword. Again, trying to look chibi. His sword holder in the back, the hat swoop that I do for every single one of my Links, and the hair, which I really like the hair for some reason. I just think I did the hair really well. One piece that way and then one piece the other way. The face is okay. I think I liked it a lot more at the time than I do now. But overall, still a nice looking model. And I did try and add detail to this one again, with kind of his belt and stuff, and that little kind of, I don't know, his arm guard that he has on. The only thing I really don't like, and I just still can't get over it, is this little kind of like bit of clay that just kind of slopes up above the rest of the shield. It just looks really like weird. I just wish I could just push it down or just cut it off, but I don't know. I guess like that it's gonna stay. And I did put him in again that kind of, sword, holding his sword up position rather than the putting it kind of down, as I would have assumed. I mean, I remember I didn't do it because I want it to look different. I do like how it looks a little bit different. But if this is a Brawl set, I don't know why I didn't really pose them in their artwork from, their artwork from the game. If I was to do this set like today, I definitely would do that. So I mean, just to have sculpted that and to knowingly put it in a different position to look different, but it goes to a Brawl set. Maybe just my own original kind of stylization, I guess. But with these guys so far, I do want to make mention though that I mean, because the Link and the Samus, as I just kind of talked about with them, I mean, like I said, they kind of go together in a fitting way with their scale and how I made them. And then the Fox, once again, we're probably going to compare Fox to every single one of the models I have left to show. Fox just looks a lot different in terms of the direction of the set I was going in. But anyway, continuing on with the Zelda series is Toon Link, which again, like Link, I think I liked a little bit better when I actually made him than I do now. Probably more so than the Link. I still think that Link is pretty good, but the face for this Toon Link, I really liked it when I made it. I really don't like it a whole lot looking at it right now. Maybe even less than when I made or maybe even less than when I made the Zelda Obscurity video. The shield, which again is all wrong because I probably didn't use artwork. I figured Toon Link was easy enough to make, so I kind of just went along with my head. His sword is really stumpy, which I don't like. It really shouldn't be like that. Hat swoop. And I don't know, I guess it's Toon Link. Kind of just to make note, though, of a collection of, again, those kind of rushed tactics I can tell that I did, because, the back of his shirt is all wrinkled, the sword, his belt is kind of all mushed in there. He has a really stumpy arm, and this arm holding the shield is really kind of positioned awkwardly. I mean, I guess it's okay, and looking at it from the side angle, I kind of like it, but as I turn it around, not as much. But there's the Toon Link, not a whole lot to say about him. He was probably made right after Link, or maybe not right after, shortly after. I'm sure at the end of the video, once I show all the guys off, I'll kind of talk about, or not really talk, but just make mention of what order they were sculpted in. Because like I said, I didn't really do this in any order aside from series, but as I'm looking at them, I can kind of tell. Maybe you guys can tell too, of kind of when I sculpted them in terms of the set. So next we'll do the last kind of, I guess, multiple models to one series, and that's Pokemon. We'll start with the Pokemon Trainer. Excuse me. And I remember this was a model that I kind of worked a little bit harder on than maybe some of these other ones, but it kind of fell through in the end. I remember the face and the hat and the head, I kind of tried really hard and stuff on because I did. But then when it came time to put his body on, for some reason, I don't think this was any confusion with the scale or anything. His head just flattened out into the body, and he really didn't have, like, a chin, and it kind of made him look obese now that I think about it. Just really unproportionate and really weird. And I think I kind of already did that and either didn't want to go back and fix it, or just really didn't want to kind of make it look better. So kind of with the same mentality as the Falco, I kind of just rushed the rest of the details. Bam, put a backpack on. Put the limbs on, a really small Pokeball that almost looks two-dimensional. Really weird pants, really small shoes. Just for an overall really kind of unproportionate model. I think, again, partly that was because of, like, the Falco thing I just said. And now that I think about the limbs, partly because I probably messed up the direction of the set again. So that's up with Pokemon Trainer. I do want to make mention, though, that I did do a Squirtle, Charizard, and Venusaur to that Pokemon Trainer. But they're in kind of that location with the Pikmin in a box of really kind of small, miscellaneous clay figures I can't get to. So I don't actually know why I didn't put them with the Pokemon Trainer. Probably because they were just so kind of small and insignificant to the overall set. Because, again, they're not in scale. They're really small and done pretty poorly, so there's Pokemon Trainer. But another Pokemon, the second Pokemon that I want to show is Lucario. I think, again, like the Fox, and going back to Fox again, like the Fox and the Link and the Samus, I actually do like this Lucario pretty much. I do like it pretty well. I think it's a rather nice model compared to some of the other ones in the set. Maybe not in the face. I remember I did try and sculpt this with a lot of detail and a lot of time. I tried to make the face as good as I could. Um, I do remember I did have a lot of difficulty with trying to sculpt the initial, shape of the face and then tried to add the different coloring on just to make it look like Lucario and the eyes in the right place. So I will give myself credit and say that I did try hard on the face. And the rest of the... Oh, he actually does have a little mouth there. Maybe you can see it. So now that I notice that mouth, I think it looks a little bit better. And he does kind of have his dreadlock things, I guess, on the back of his head. And he's doing a shadow ball kind of thing right there, which I do like. Again, I think partly, like I was talking about the Link where his sword was up and stuff, there was a part of me that wanted to do some kind of originality to the set, and I thought, doing a shadow ball would be really cool rather than kind of having him just stand in his initial pose, which for some reason I'm getting slight flashback memories of me attempting to sculpt him in that pose, or just put him in that pose to see how it would look, but then I didn't like it because I didn't think it was, again, I guess cool enough, and I wanted to do something different, like with like a prop. So that's that. I don't think I really put any slits. Oh, actually, I put some really thin kind of toothpick slits to kind of establish it, like his fingers or paws, but you can't really see them very well. And he just had a little spike on his stomach. And he actually, the first time I filmed this video, one of his spikes fell off, so of his hand. But overall, again, a kind of nice model. I do like it, and the coloring is. I definitely want to make note of that because I know this actually isn't really the coloring that he exhibits in the game, but for some reason, just the blue and the black and the really bright yellow and the moderately bright purple kind of all works. So, nice Lucario. He's not in scale with the... is he going to stand up? Hope so. He's not in scale with the Pokemon Trainer, but again, this whole set was messed up in terms of scale. So, the last three models are all from their own series, so I only have, these three. So, we'll start with Sonic. We'll start with Sonic, and I'm, 10 models through the video? But we'll start the single series with Sonic. So, I remember Sonic, I had a lot of ambitions, kind of, in trying to sculpt this Sonic. I had this vision in my head of exactly how I wanted him to look. However, I think he kind of fell short of that, and that's definitely in the spikes alone. I look at this model, and I think these are the worst spikes I've ever made on any Sonic model. I think my first Wolf Sonic, if you guys remember back to the videos I've shown him off in, I think he had better spikes than the Sonic. Because they're just, I don't know if I was running out of clay, if I just didn't care. This definitely wasn't the vision I had. The vision I had was kind of real. I'm trying to think of like a type of style of Sonic where his spikes are kind of prominent, but I can't really think of a good example. But I just wanted really kind of big spikes, really all together, really, kind of like, I want to say, almost like intimidating, just really, Brawl Sonic. But they just really, really bad, and it's almost like I didn't even finish his head. I don't know what I was thinking or why I didn't, make the spikes better. I had it because I was running out of clay. There was no way it was because I just didn't care. And it's weird because he has this kind of like hunch in his back, so why didn't I just take some blue off there and put it back on his head? Again, just the whole rushing of this set. And I wanted him kind of with both of his fists out, which, I mean, I accomplished in terms of the look, but the gloves and the arms are just really bad. The face is okay, but it's definitely not as good as I could have made it. The nose is a little bit big, and the ears are really short and stumpy. His feet are a little bit big, and his legs are a little bit kind of goopy, but, I mean, this Sonic just fell really short of all the kind of hopes I had when I was going to make, the Sonic model for the set, so I could say he's probably one of the worst ones to the set. It's just in the head alone is why he's one of the worst ones to the set, I think. I don't know. That's Sonic, not to bash on him too hard. Second to last is Olimar from Pikmin series. So I think this isn't a model that necessarily looks bad, but it's one that I could have spent more time on. So here's his head, as you can see. But I mean, I think his ears could have been a little bit more in proportion. His hair doesn't spike up that much. His nose should be more like a Mario nose and not so much pushed on his face. He's a little bit tall, but I do like the coloring that I used for his suit. I don't know, I think his backpack could have been a little kind of less flat again on his back. Um, in proportion, again, um, he should have been smaller in terms of the scale compared to everybody else. See, I think I'm confusing scale and the model size themselves, um, because I think I didn't care about how one character looked in terms of another. I just wanted to make them all with, the big head, or not so much the big head, but, just a smaller version of themselves, like with the Link. Um, but again, with the whole theme of confusion, I just confused this and kind of made him tall. Uh, the little Pikmin with him, I think, is actually a little bit unnecessary. I was kind of probably thinking, like, well, the Pokemon trainer, I made the Pokemon separately, and the Pikmin are kind of with Almer, so I should do them, I should do the Pikmin with him, but I think it actually doesn't look that good. And I would have liked some kind of helmet or something on him. I mean, I could have found some plastic around the house and probably made a circular shape or something just to make it look a little bit better, because I think it kind of in the end makes it fall a little bit short. So that's Almer. And finally, the last model to the set that was sculpted was Pit from Kid Icarus. Just regular Kid Icarus, but in Smash 4 it's going to be the Uprising version, so that's really cool. Props to them for doing that, because in Brawl, I really didn't like Pit. I thought he was annoying and just like a brat, but Kid Icarus Uprising really gave me some newfound respect for Pit. I liked the character a lot more. So, Smash 4 Pit for the win, Brawl Pit not so much. However, this Pit got a decent sculpt, especially for the only Pit model I've ever made, even though I've kind of had thoughts over the past couple of years of sculpting a really good one. But, I guess in the face alone is probably the best feature, because I feel like it was like with the Samus, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get it right because, I'd never sculpted a Pit before, and I wasn't good with kind of the human faces anyway. So that's kind of the best face I could get. The hair's not actually bad, and I got his little kind of headgear thing all the way around. Kind of gets cut off by the hair there. But where this model falls short is in his bow, which is, I don't even know what to say. I just smushed it down there so you can see it's like not even, it doesn't even look like it's connected because I was trying to fit it, down. So I don't know why I didn't just move it up or kind of try and fix it. The back, which I don't think I did intentionally, got all smudged up. And now that I'm looking at the wings are really kind of small and stumpy. And to the sides, rather than kind of being outward, his legs are really thick, and you can't really even tell a lot of what's going on the kind of, the inside of his legs and his arms, and, so from the front, it almost looks like he's wearing a dress, kind of, but as you turn it around, it's like, oh, no, he's not. But for some reason, I did include that little red dot that he has on his, his, I don't know, toga thing, whatever you call it. So, I mean, in the face, I give this props, but in everything else, I can't really give it many props. Let me just kind of fix these guys. Lucario fell, but I kind of caught him before he hit the poster board. So, with that, that's the canceled Brawl set. So, just my final thoughts of the set. Yeah, I really don't know what was going on with the scale. I was gonna make note again with the Pit that, I mean, the Pit, his head is in proportion with his body, but he's small overall. And compared him to Link, I feel like it's more or less the same type of style. But then the Samus is a lot smaller. So there was a whole bunch of problems with scale of the set collectively, scale in terms of the individual figures, and just the style of where I wanted to go with the details and the lack of details and the pose and stuff. So I can go on, and I'm probably going to confuse myself with, how Almer compares to Link and how Link compared to Pit. Because like I said, Almer's bigger than Pit, but I didn't make him in the style as Pit, but compared to Link, he has the same type of head structure, and I think I said body structure, but I think his body should be smaller than Link anyway. So his body should be smaller than Link because he's smaller than Link, but it should be the same size because of the models themselves. Anyway, wow. So much for thinking this was going to be faster than the original take I did. I remember the original take, like I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, was, I believe, like 19 minutes, and I thought that was a long one, and this is probably over 30 minutes, making it the longest in-depth series episode. I believe so, yeah, because my vintage ones were like 22 minutes or so. So, this could be my third longest video, though. But yeah, like I said, I just had a lot of characters to review and a lot to kind of say about all of them, because I doubt we're really going to look at these guys again. Am I ever going to pick up this set or resculpt it? Probably never, because I can definitely not see myself picking up the set from where I left off. And to resculpt these guys, I could see, in all honesty, maybe, I want to say 5-10 years down the road, when Brawl becomes more of like a vintage game. As you guys know, I sculpted the Sonic the Fighter set, the Sonic R set. So once Brawl kind of becomes a classic and not as new as it is, I might kind of want to make a throwback set to it. Be like, this game's really old, but I wanted to kind of, revive it in terms of, and sculpt a clay set. But in terms of now, probably not. If anything, I'd focus my efforts on to Smash 4, which I doubt I even will, because again, just the monumental kind of catastrophe that this set brought about. But with that said, I think I may have had a couple more things to say, but I'm not entirely sure. I probably hit upon them all because the last thing I wanted to talk about was when I made each of them. So if you guys couldn't already tell, and as I was kind of discussing, the smaller guys, these four Pit, yeah, these four Pit and Meta Knight, I believe, were kind of all around the same time. Pokemon Trainer Lucario, Kirby were kind of, I believe, at one time, just kind of from the colors and stuff I can tell in the style, like I said. And then I would say, Fox would probably be a part of that. And then Sonic, Almer, and then Falco Sonic and Almer were at one time, then Falco was later. But with that said, I thank you guys for watching this in-depth series episode number. I couldn't remember the number. So, thanks for watching again. More videos soon. I'm El Supersonic Q, and until the next one, Finn.